clomb to Celtic slumber. If you are settling in now and letting your body loosen after the day, I welcome you gently into this quiet place beside me. There is no hurry and no effort needed. Just find whatever position feels softest for you, and let the weight of your thoughts drift a little, as if you were placing them into a still pool and watching the ripples fade. If this story brings you ease or a moment of calm, you might remember to come back again and subscribe to Celtic Slumber, where there will always be another soft Irish story waiting for you. But for now, there is nothing to do but breathe slowly and let the world quieten around you. My name is Fionn, though some know me from tales told long after my time. But this is not the story of the battles I later fought or the men I led. This is the story of a river and a salmon and the gentle turning of fate. I will tell it to you the way I remember it, not with the sharpness of action, but in the soft glow of memory, as if I were watching it again through a warm evening light. I was a boy then, wandering often through the forests and fields of ancient Ireland, though I did not yet know what my path would become. I lived in quiet places, moving often, for there were people who wished me harm, and those who cared for me kept me hidden. But I did not feel afraid. The wild world felt like home to me. I knew the sound of every bird, the way the wind bent through the tall grasses, the smell of the earth after rain. I learned early how to listen, really listen, to the land around me. It shaped me more than any teacher ever could. One day, after many such wanderings, I found myself walking along the river Boyne. The water was calm, smooth as polished stone, and the light of morning lay across it like a silver cloth. The trees on either side leaned toward the river as if they were listening too, their branches rustling softly. I followed the path without much thought, simply breathing in the quiet, letting it seep into my bones. It was there that I met the poet Finnegas. His cottage stood close to the riverbank, built from timber and thatch, its stones warmed by years of sun. I remember seeing smoke rising from the little chimney, curling lazily into the air. Finnegas himself was standing by the water, casting a long line out across the surface. He was an older man, his hair white as frost, his back straight but softened by time. There was something steady about him, something patient, as if he had been waiting for many years and could wait many more without complaint. He turned when he heard my footsteps. His eyes, bright and blue, looked at me with curiosity but without suspicion. I greeted him, and he nodded as if he had been expecting me all along. "You have the look of someone who listens to the world," he said. "That is a rare gift." I did not know what he meant then, but I liked his voice. It was calm, unhurried, each word shaped as though he had polished it with care. I asked if he lived alone. He smiled, the kind of smile that barely lifts the mouth but warms the air. "I do," he said, "but the river keeps me company and the thought of what I seek." I followed his gaze toward the water, where the line of his fishing rod lay long and straight. "What do you seek?" I asked. "Wisdom," he said simply. I thought about that. At that age, wisdom to me meant knowing how to track a deer, or how to hear the first whisper of a storm in the leaves. I did not yet understand the deeper meaning. Finnegas gestured for me to sit with him by the bank, and I did. He told me then of the Salmon of Knowledge, a creature that had eaten the sacred hazelnuts that fell into the Boyne from the 9 trees of wisdom. All the knowledge of the world had flowed into the salmon, and whoever first tasted its flesh would gain insight beyond measure. Finnegas had spent 7 long years trying to catch it, 7 years of watching, waiting, pondering the river and its secrets. As he spoke, I felt something quiet move inside me, a sense that this place, this man, this moment mattered somehow. Finnegas looked at me carefully. "You are young," he said, "but I see something in you. I could use a helper, someone to bring wood for the fire, gather berries, watch the nets when I rest. Would you stay with me for a while?" There was a softness in his request, not a command but a gentle invitation. I agreed. It felt right, as natural as the river flowing past us. So I came to live with Finnegas by the Boyne, in that small cottage with its warm hearth and its shelves of scrolls and carvings. He taught me poems, letting me repeat the lines until they settled comfortably on my tongue. He taught me stories older than any kingdom, tales of gods and heroes, of the first shaping of the world and the winds that carried songs across the sea. Days passed in a rhythm as soothing as breath. Morning light would slip through the window, waking us gently. I would step outside to feel the cool grass beneath my bare feet, the mist rising from the river like a veil. Finnegas would follow, stretching his limbs, his face lifted toward the pale sky. We would share a simple meal, bread and berries, and sometimes a little honey, and then begin our work. I gathered wood from the forest, enjoying the quiet crackle of twigs under my feet. I learned the different scents of the trees, the soft mossy smell of oak, the sharper scent of pine. I picked herbs for Finnegas, listening to his instructions about their uses, though he delivered them in a slow, thoughtful way that made even learning feel restful. And always, at the heart of each day, was the river. We tended the nets together, lowering them gently, letting them drift, pulling them up again with patient hands. Finnegas would narrow his eyes often, scanning the surface of the water for a sign, a shimmer, a ripple that meant more than the currents alone. But the salmon did not come. Still, he never lost hope. His patience was a quiet thing, steady as a stone beneath flowing water. Sometimes in the evenings we would sit side by side outside the cottage, the fire crackling softly, the sky turning from gold to rose to deep blue. Finnegas would talk then, not always of wisdom or prophecy, but of small things, the shift in the wind, the visiting of a bird he had not seen in years, the memory of a place he once travelled to in his youth. I listened, content, absorbing his stories as easily as the night absorbed the fading light. Seasons turned. The forest changed from the soft greens of spring to the rich fullness of summer. The air warmed and buzzed with insects, and sometimes we would cool our feet in the river, letting the water swirl over our skin. Finnegas would hum softly under his breath, old melodies that sounded like the river itself. Then came the day when everything changed, though it happened with a softness that surprised me. It was early morning. The mist was still thick over the Boyne, lying low and silver. Finnegas stood by the water as always, his rod in hand, his expression calm but alert. I had just gathered the wood for the morning fire when I heard his breath catch, quiet but unmistakable. "Fionn," he said, "come here." I walked to his side. The surface of the river was smooth except for one gentle ripple moving against the current, slow and purposeful. "There," he whispered, "the Salmon of Knowledge." The moment did not feel grand or loud. It felt like a breath hail in the world, a stillness deeper than silence. Finnegas's hands were steady as he drew the line in, guiding the salmon toward the shore. The fish shimmered, its scales reflecting the early light in shades of copper and silver. It was beautiful in a quiet, ancient way, as if it were older than the river itself. When finally he lifted it from the water, cradling it carefully in his arms, Finnegas closed his eyes. I could see joy in his face, but sorrow too, as if he were standing at the end of a long path and did not know what waited beyond. He handed the salmon to me. "Cook it," he said gently, "but do not taste a single bite." I nodded. I built a small fire, arranging the wood as he had taught me. I placed the salmon over the flames, watching its skin crisp slowly. The scent rising into the air. I was careful, very careful. But even with great care, small moments happened beyond intention. A drop of oil hissed and spat, landing on my thumb. Instinctively, I lifted my hand to my mouth, touching the burned spot to my lips. And in that instant, the world changed, not loudly, not painfully. It felt like a warm tide rising through me, filling my mind with a clarity I had never known. It was not a rush of noise or visions. It was more like suddenly understanding a language I had always heard but never recognized. The world seemed to widen. The air, the river, the trees, even the distant hills seemed to speak in a gentle chorus. Everything connected, everything meaningful. Finnegas approached me slowly. He looked at my face, and in my eyes he saw the truth. "You tasted it," he said, but there was no anger in him, only acceptance. "I did," I whispered. He sank onto a stone, his shoulders loosening with a long exhale. "So the prophecy is fulfilled," he murmured. "I was meant to catch the salmon, but you were meant to gain its wisdom." There was no bitterness in his voice, only a soft kind of peace. "You must go now, Fionn," he said. "The world is calling you, and your path will be long." I felt many things then. Gratitude, sadness, a deep affection for this man who had taught me so gently. I knelt before him and pressed my forehead to his hand. "Thank you," I said. He smiled. "Go with wisdom and let it guide you kindly." I left that day, walking along the river as the morning brightened. The water moved beside me like a companion, whispering its old secrets. I felt taller somehow, not in body but in spirit, as if the world had lifted a veil and shown itself more clearly. As I walked, I thought of everything Finnegas had taught me, all the quiet hours by the fire, all the stories told under shifting skies, and I knew that wisdom was not a weight but a light, something to guide rather than burden. The forest opened before me, soft with sunlight, the leaves stirring gently. I felt no fear, only a calm sense of beginning. If you are still awake as I tell this, you might imagine that river beside you now, moving slowly, carrying the reflections of trees and sky. You might feel your breath settling, becoming as steady as the boy I once was, walking along the Boyne with a new understanding forming inside him. You do not need to hold on to each detail. Let them drift if they wish, like fallen leaves floating downstream. This is a soft story, and it will carry you as far as you need to go. As I walked away from the cottage of Finnegas, the morning grew warmer and the mist lifted little by little, revealing the familiar curves of the Boyne as it wound through the ancient land I did not rush. My steps were slow, unhurried, as if the earth itself were guiding me forward with a steady hand at my back. The grass brushed against my ankles, cool and damp, and small insects moved lazily between the tall stalks. The world seemed quieter than usual, or perhaps I was hearing it in a new way, the way someone listens after coming out of a dream that still lingers gently around the edges of the mind. Wisdom did not feel like a weight sitting on my shoulders. It felt like space opening inside me, a deep, calm space, like stepping into a forest clearing where the sunlight falls in soft golden patches and every sound seems to exist in perfect balance with the next. My thoughts were not louder, they were softer, clearer. Everything made sense not through effort, but through a kind of peaceful understanding that flowed through me like the river beside me. I looked back once toward the direction of the cottage, though the trees had already hidden it from sight. I imagined Finnegas sitting by the water, his fishing line coiled neatly, his hands resting on his knees. I imagined the small smile he sometimes wore, the one that pulled at only one corner of his mouth, quiet and private. For a moment I felt a pang of sadness to leave him, but the sadness was gentle, like the ache that comes after holding someone you love for the last time before a long journey. It was not sharp. It did not tear at me. It simply reminded me that life is shaped by moments of meeting and moments of parting. The river hummed softly to my right, as if sharing the memory with me. The sunlight flickered across its surface, turning the water into strips of silver and pale blue. I watched a small leaf fall from an overhanging branch, land lightly and drift away. I followed its path for a while, letting my mind drift with it. It spun slowly, carried by currents unseen, moving at its own pace toward places it had never known existed. Perhaps wisdom, I thought, was something like that, not a destination, but a way of moving through the world. After a time, the path curved away from the river and into a grove of tall, slender trees. Their leaves rustled above me in a steady whisper, like many voices, speaking softly, but never intruding on one another. The air inside the grove was cooler, touched with the scent of moss and damp bark. I paused beneath one of the larger trees and rested my hand against its trunk. The roughness beneath my fingers felt grounding, real, present. I closed my eyes for a moment and listened. Birds shifting in branches, a stream trickling somewhere close by, the faint creak of wood as the trees leaned slightly in the breeze. My breathing slow between these sounds, falling into a natural rhythm, in and out, like the rise and fall of the river. If you are listening now, lying where you are, you might let your breath fall into that same slow rhythm. You might let the sounds around you fade in and out of your awareness without needing to follow them or think about them. I continued walking through the grove, feeling the soft earth beneath my feet. I thought of the day I first arrived at Finnegas's cottage, tired from travel, curious but unsure. I had not known then that the path I stepped onto would lead me to a wisdom that seemed larger than my place in the world. Yet, here I was, moving with a new sense of calm, as though each step were guided by an invisible thread woven long before my birth. Eventually, the trees thinned and the land opened into a meadow. The grass here was tall and golden, swaying gently in the breeze like waves rolling across a quiet sea. I paused at the edge of the field, watching how the light played across the tops of the grasses, each blade catching the sun in its own way. The air smelled warm and sweet, carrying with it the faint aroma of wildflowers hidden among the stalks. I waded through the meadow slowly, letting my hands brush lightly across the grasses. It reminded me of the way I'd once trailed my fingers through the river water while Finnegas sat nearby, humming softly. A sense of companionship stirred in me, even though I was alone in the meadow. It felt as if the world itself walked with me, offering comfort in the rustle of the grass and the steady warmth of the sun. As I reached the middle of the meadow, I stopped and tilted my head back to look at the sky. It was a soft, endless blue, with small white clouds drifting like gentle thoughts. I felt my breath deepen again, settling in my chest the way a bird settles into its nest at dusk. There was no urgency to my journey, no destination marked on any map, only this moment and the next, and the quiet, knowing that the world had opened to me in a new way. The memory of the salmon came back to me then, the shimmer of its scales, the quiet dignity of its form, the way it had seemed almost aware, as if it understood the role it played in the long weaving of history. I thought of the moment the oil from its skin had touched my thumb, the sudden warmth that had washed through me. It had not felt like something stolen or taken by chance. It had felt inevitable, like rain falling when clouds have gathered long enough. Wisdom, I began to understand, does not always arrive with thunder or fire. Sometimes it comes quietly, slipping into your life like early morning light through a window, waking you gently. When I reached the far side of the meadow, I found a small hill rising from the earth. Its slope was gradual and smooth, as if formed by the hands of time, rather than the force of storms. I climbed it slowly, savouring the soft weight of my footsteps. At the top, the land spread out before me in all directions. I could see forest and field, the distant shimmer of a lake, and the winding curve of the Boyne far behind. Everything looked peaceful, held in a kind of ancient stillness. I sat down in the grass and let my body soften. The wind brushed gently through my hair, carrying with it the distant scent of water and pine. My thoughts were quiet now, moving with the ease of drifting clouds. I did not need to decide anything. I did not need to plan. I simply sat, breathing, listening, letting the land speak in its own way. If you are awake still, you might imagine yourself sitting beside me on that hill, the grass warm beneath you, the sky stretching endlessly overhead. You might feel the same soft breeze brushing your skin, carrying away whatever tension you have held onto during the day. Your body might begin to feel heavier, as if the earth itself were welcoming you to rest against it. Your eyes might grow softer, heavier, like leaves closing against the night. I did not know then where my path would lead, or the stories that would one day be told about me. I did not know the challenges or joys that awaited me. What I knew was this: the world felt larger, but also kinder. Filled with mysteries, yes, but mysteries that felt like invitations rather than threats. And at the center of it all was a quiet place inside me, a place carved out by wisdom, where I could return whenever the world grew loud. As the sun moved slowly across the sky, I rose and began to walk again, my steps easy and unburdened. Somewhere ahead lay my future, but it did not rush toward me. It waited with patience, the way Finnegas had waited by the river. I felt no fear of it, only readiness, only peace. I continued on, and the land welcomed me with every step. As I walked on from the hill, the afternoon light softened into a warm, honey-coloured glow, settling itself gently across the land. Shadows stretched long and thin, like the world was becoming quieter. By degrees, I felt that familiar sense of stillness rise inside me again, as if the wisdom I had gained was not something loud or demanding, but something that simply breathed along with me. Every sound seemed to rest more deeply in the air. The rustle of a small creature in the undergrowth, the distant call of a bird preparing for night, the steady whisper of wind moving through tall grass. None of it pressed for attention. It all moved in its own rhythm, calm and unhurried. I followed a narrow track that wound between hazel trees, their branches arching overhead like the beams of an old hall. Sunlight filtered through their leaves in soft, shifting patterns. I remembered what Finnegas had told me, that the hazel trees along the Boyne carried ancient magic in their roots. feeding the river with the wisdom that had once fallen in the form of hazelnuts. I brushed my fingertips against one of the trunks as I passed, feeling the cool roughness of the bark. The tree felt alive beneath my hand, steady and older than any tale I imagined, its roots spreading deep into the soil, touching the memory of the land itself. The path eventually opened onto a clearing where a small stream cut through the earth, narrow but lively, bubbling over smooth stones. The water caught the last of the sunlight, carrying it in ripples that glimmered as they curved away. I knelt beside the stream and dipped my hands into the cool water, letting it run between my fingers. It felt like a greeting, as if the stream were welcoming me in its own quiet language. I cupped a little of the water and brought it to my lips. It tasted fresh and sweet, with a hint of something ancient beneath the surface. For a moment I simply stayed there on my knees, watching the patterns of light on the moving water. I let my breath fall into the rhythm of the stream, a gentle rise and fall that needed no effort. If you are listening now and your mind is beginning to drift, you might imagine that same stream beside you, the steady flow easing the last of your tension. You might feel your breath aligning with the soft movement of the water, slow and peaceful. When I rose again, twilight had begun to gather. The sky deepened into shades of pale violet and soft grey. The first stars appearing like tiny sparks, I continued walking, the fading light guiding me gently. The world seemed to hush itself, as though preparing for sleep, and I felt myself moving in harmony with that slowing pace. There was no reason to hurry. Night would come whether I rushed or rested, and the land beneath my feet felt patient and kind. After some time, I reached another curve in the Boyne. The river had widened here, opening into a smooth expanse where the surface lay still and reflective. Holding the colours of dusk like a painting, I stood at the water's edge and let the quiet settle around me. The world felt vast and intimate all at once, as if every sound and shadow belonged exactly where it was. I thought of the salmon again, its silver scales catching the light, its long journey through the river before meeting Finnegas's line. I wondered how many years it had carried its knowledge, moving beneath the surface unseen by most. Wisdom often hides that way, I thought, present but waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And when it does not arrive with noise or force. It arrives like a shimmer on water, easy to miss if one is not paying attention. The stars brightened slowly overhead. A soft breeze moved across the river, carrying the scent of water plants and distant pine. I felt my body grow heavier in a pleasant way, the way one feels after a long day of walking in good company. My limbs loosened, my breath slowed, and my thoughts drifted like small boats unmoored from their posts. I found a patch of soft ground near the riverbank and lowered myself onto it, stretching out comfortably. The earth was cool beneath me, but not cold, and it held me gently. Like a familiar cradle, I watched the stars shift in their slow arc, their reflections trembling on the water. The sky seemed endless, an open field of darkness and light, and yet I felt no fear of it, only peace, a deep, enveloping peace that made the edges of the world feel soft and blurred. I thought of Finnegas again, sitting by his fire, humming to himself, perhaps thinking of the salmon he had long pursued. I felt no distance between us. Wisdom had shown me that the people who shape us never truly leave our lives, even when paths diverge. They remain as steady presences inside us, like the glow of embers long after a fire has burned low. The night grew deeper. A small owl called from somewhere in the trees behind me, its voice soft and steady. The river murmured at my feet, quiet but constant. I felt my eyes grow heavier, the way they do when sleep is near, drawing gently at the edges of thought. I welcomed the feeling, letting it flow through me like the warmth of a fading fire. If you are listening now, your breath might be easing into that same slow pattern. You might feel the weight of your body sinking into the bed or the place where you rest. You might feel your limbs softening, as if all the day's effort has melted into the night air. You might feel your thoughts loosening, drifting further apart, like small leaves carried down a quiet stream. I lay there beside the river and let my mind wander, not with urgency, but with the ease of someone who no longer needs to chase answers. The wisdom I had gained was not a burden of countless facts. It was a simple knowing that life unfolds in its own time, with its own rhythm, and that peace comes not from chasing the world, but from listening to it. The darkness around me deepened, but it felt gentle, like a cloak drawn softly around my shoulders. My eyes drifted closed for a moment, then opened again just enough to see the faint shimmer of starlight on the river. I let that image settle in my mind, a quiet marker of the moment. I felt my breathing slow further, the rise and fall steady and natural. I felt the world holding me with the same soft patience that Finnegas had shown for so many years. Time no longer felt like something that hurried me. It felt wide, like the river, moving forward at its own pace. And as I rested there at the edge of sleep, I understood that wisdom is often nothing more than this, a gentle acceptance, a quiet easing, a trust that the path ahead will unfold as it must, and that rest is as important a part of the journey as any step taken in waking hours. The stars shimmered, the river whispered, my breath softened, and I let myself drift, peaceful and untroubled, into the long, quiet night.